Hey there, Sovereigns. Monica Grace from cardreadingqueen.com here, and today's content is why the masculine is hot and cold with the feminine. And I basically compiled this list based on watching and observing two soul brothers of mine and how they interact with their feminines, and then also adding my own experience to it and talking to my masculine about this. I wanted to just share this list because I think sometimes it's very confusing why there's like this push-pull energy in the relationship. And this, some of this may resonate with you. And I think the best thing you can do is trust your intuition to apply this to your specific situation if you are the feminine who is experiencing this right now. So let's talk first about why the masculine might reach out again, especially after a period of not reaching out or not communicating, or even just not being present. So sometimes it's like, he's communicating, but he's not showing up. So when he's reaching out, these are some of the reasons that he might be reaching out. So the first is that he got an intuitive hit. And this stuff can apply to like reaching out. It can apply to unblocking. It can apply to, showing up more often. So, or it can even apply to like, just like being more honest about his feelings. So maybe he's been pushing the feminine away, and saying like he's not attracted to her, that sort of thing. And then he, all of a sudden is a little bit more flirty or more affectionate or something like that. So when he reaches out, so the first one is that he may just have an intuitive hit from your shared higher power. And so he is just acting on an intuitive hit because he's been staying present and, he wanted to reach out basically. The second one is that he reaches out to test the connection to see if the energy or if something in the physical is different and less repelling to him. So this is very common, especially in the first, stages, I guess, or like the early parts of coming into union. The two of you, because of your wounding, you end up repelling each other more. And I experienced this with my masculine, where there were periods where I repelled him or he repelled me. There was even a period where I was like, you need to stop talking to me because I will never date you. Like, there's no way that this is ever going to happen. It's not going to happen. Just give up, was kind of my energy. And he pretty much just ignored me for some reason. I think he has a lot of confidence. So he was just like, I'm not gonna take her at her word. So, and he was right. He pursued me and it worked basically. So yeah, there's a lot of repelling energy in the connection because the two of you are triggering each other quite a bit. So it may be that like he does have those feelings for you, and so he's reaching out to see if things have changed. Like, can we have a peaceful interaction because these feelings are still there, and I don't know what to do with them. So a third reason is that he notices when he's drawn to his feminine, and then it occurs to him to try to connect. So it's kind of a similar thing, but it may be that like he sees her out and he's just he just feels himself being drawn to her again, and so he's like, let me go investigate this through communication. The fourth one is that he's had clarity or an epiphany about his feminine or about their relationship. And so maybe he's been doing his own healing work, either through his going within or through contrast, and through doing that, he's had some sort of epiphany about his own behavior, about her behavior, whatever it might be. And so the energy shifts. And this is, a lot of these are saying the same thing, which is really just that the masculine is checking to see if the energy has shifted, because the energy is constantly shifting. So, especially if you are doing your healing work, then the energy between the two of you is going to shift, because it has to, by law of attraction. I guess we're on number 5. He's healed something and is able to take action. So yeah, same thing, same exact thing that I've been saying. The 6th one is that he's intrigued by her, and he is specifically attracted to her high priestess energy. If you are not familiar with tarot, the high priestess energy is kind of like, it's basically like a crown chakra energy. And if you're not familiar with the crown chakra or with chakras, it's basically that you are in like high communication with your higher power, and that line is it's more open, and information is flowing between you and your higher power. And so if you don't have a higher power, you could also say communication is flowing between you and life, or communication is flowing between you and your intuition. But basically, the masculine is very attracted to this energy of the high priestess, because the feminine, when she is in this energy, it's a very natural state for her. And when she is in this energy, it truly like radiates her beauty outward, her beauty and her abundance and her flow outward. And that it attracts her twin soul. It's almost like kryptonite for her twin soul. Okay, sorry. The next one is that he realizes he wants to do things differently than the way he has been doing them. So again, I mean, that's basically saying the same thing as many of these other ones, which is that he has healed something, and he is deciding to make another choice. And so and it could be anything. It could be like, he's like, man, I really want to step up and take more responsibility for this relationship. Or it could be, I really want to get my shit together and make this relationship work. Like, I want to prioritize it in a way that I haven't been thus far. So that's kind of what's happening on the outside. But really this is, again, it's an energetic shift. So all of this is kind of the 3D of it. And all of this is achieved through doing your healing work. So now let's talk about what happens. Oh, sorry, I missed one. Okay. He wants to connect within and without. And this is not some weird sexual thing. I guess it's not a weird sexual thing. This is not sexual or physical. It's really that he wants to connect spiritually. So he realizes that he just wants to connect with his twin soul, basically. So then let's talk about when he starts to pull back, or when he kind of hits the cold of this pattern. And this pattern is, it's a common one on this journey. So when he pulls back, the first one is he's interested but not fully ready to dive in. So it could be that he wanted to communicate, and they were communicating, and now it's like he's interested, but there's still some threads that are repelling him, and so he just pulls back to kind of think about that more. Or he pulls back because he doesn't feel ready to commit to going deeper. Another one is that he wants to move forward, but doesn't want to make the same mistakes as before. And what's happening is that she reminds him of a mistake that he's made either with her or with somebody else in the past. With this, it's really just saying she triggers him. And this is normal. If you are twin souls, then you're going to trigger each other. And one or both of you doesn't necessarily have the mastery of the inner work to deal with it right on the spot. So yeah, he wants to move forward, but doesn't want to make the mistakes that he made. And you as the feminine are confronting him with those mistakes. He's resisting change that he feels he doesn't want and has no control over. And so thus he projects it onto her. This is a very common one. And it's the whole piece of this is really that for the masculine, when he meets his feminine, it's almost like his world starts falling apart. Or it's not really, I guess it's not when he meets his feminine, it's when he awakens to his feminine. And so it's like, this is why, like, the two of you can have like this very normal relationship for a very long time. And then the feminine, often the feminine kind of awakens and becomes conscious of this journey, maybe understands twin souls or hears about twin souls and starts to commit to it. And the masculine then starts to see, like, around the same time that his world is falling apart. It's like his foundation just starts to crumble around him. And so this can be a lot of things. It can be, it can be a job loss, a divorce. It can be like an addiction, jail time, a relationship breaking up. It can just be a lot of different things. And so, a move that he did not want to make. It's like he's on this life path that he felt really good about. And it was really a path of control. It wasn't a path of alignment. But then, and so that path starts to fall apart and he doesn't really understand why it's falling apart. But he tends to project it onto his feminine. He tends to blame her, however irrational it is. He finds himself blaming her for it. So, and I've heard multiple masculines call this like a spiritual seduction or a spiritual attack or like, like just all sorts of things where it's like the masculine can sense that it's something spiritual that is drawing him toward these changes, and his desire to remain in control causes him to think that it's like dark forces trying to like ruin his life. It's kind of the best way I can describe that. And so I've heard this a lot from multiple masculines who are not in contact with each other. So take it for what you will, but that is how they describe it. Okay. The next one is overwhelmed with emotions that he doesn't want to deal with. So one of those struggles that the masculine has is vulnerability. And a lot of that is because our society programs masculines, and specifically men, but the masculine archetype in general programs them to not be vulnerable and not share their feelings. And so this is a big thing that the masculine has to overcome on this journey. And his twin soul, the feminine, is going to be triggering this over and over again, trying to get the masculine, and not on purpose, but trying to get the masculine to go deeper into his feelings. The next one is that he gets the communication and then he takes it back to his hermit space to process it and to better understand the feminine and the connection. So this is basically that he's using communication as like an information gathering session, not as a place to connect. So sometimes the feminine is trying to connect through conversation and the masculine is still in a stage of like research and gathering info. And so he may look at that communication and just, instead of responding a lot, he may just kind of take it back and use it to kind of understand this connection more. Because remember, he's feeling both attracted and repelled at the same time. And that is causing conflict within him, basically. And he, so it's like the masculine can sometimes be in a very logical or rational mindset of like, okay, I don't understand why I don't understand if I like her or if I hate her, is kind of the energy of it. So he is like observing it and curious about it and trying to unpack it, but he wants to do that on his own. He's not trying to unpack it with her. The masculine typically likes to pull back and get himself in order, get himself organized, get his own shit together. And then he likes to present all of that to the feminine. And come to her from a place of confidence and knowing what action he wants to take next. All right, the next one is that he feels the feminine's energy is needy and he's not ready to meet that need. So this can be true for communication. It can also be true for like meetings or like, you're throwing a party and you invite your twin soul and they don't decline. They kind of leave it open, but then they don't show up either. So it's like and it's really this energy of like it's really that they don't want to say no, but then they're also not ready to show up fully. So I think that's pretty clear. So the next one is that he's trying to match his feelings and the attraction he feels with the logic. And the logic is really, it helps him. So he may feel the connection, but the masculine more so than the feminine needs like an underlying foundation of logic to comprehend the connection. So he may be trying to match his feelings with the logic of the connection. And this is what, so in the twin soul community, they basically call it hermiting. And so that's after the tarot card, the Hermit. And it's basically the idea that you go away to the mountain and you've gone away to reflect and to meditate. It's essentially like a monk energy. And that is how the masculine processes a lot of stuff on this journey, is they want to figure it out on their own, basically. And so in the 3D, it may look like you're getting ghosted, but what's really happening is more of like a hermit energy as opposed to a ghosting energy. And so it's almost like it's a difference between rejection and simply withdrawing or divesting energy. So to reject someone is to put out a lot of energy. Like you have to put out energy to reject someone. But this is more like they just withdraw their energy from the feminine in order to focus it somewhere else, and they need more healing in order to be ready to invest that energy into the feminine. Another one is that they may be healing with other distorted feminines in their lives. And so this could be like a mom, a sister, a ex-partner, a child even. So if they have daughter or daughters, they may be experiencing that with that feminine. And it could be others like aunts, uncles, bosses. But those are, the family members and like ex-partners are really the most common ones. And then the last one is that they are just weary and tired from battle with their feminine, or what feels like battle and conflict with their feminine. And so this is a very patriarchal expectation, but it's like the masculine really wants like comfort and love and ease, and it's a false high for them, but they really want something that feels very simple and that just like takes care of their basic needs. So the masculine, one of the biggest societal and collective blocks that the masculine has is willingness to go deep. because again, going deep is vulnerable and it's hard. And the masculine has been taught to expect that it will be easy, or if it's too easy, or if it's not easy enough and there's too much drama, then it's time to break up with her, is kind of the energy of that collective wounding. And so the masculine side is healing a lot of that. So that's everything that it could be. And I definitely encourage you to trust your intuition on this, like what resonates with you specifically, and to choose that in order to receive your peace around this so that you're not spinning on it as much. So what I want to add to this, because you may be like, okay, this is interesting, but how can I change the pattern? And the healing for this is really that your twin soul journey can move forward without communication from the masculine. And what it is that the feminine simply places too much emphasis on using communication to build a relationship. And it's, there's this energy of like, well, we don't even talk, so how do we have a relationship? And there's just this belief, or how can we build a relationship? There's this belief for the feminine that you have to be in communication with the person in order for your union to be moving forward. And it's not the case. Your relationship with your twin is largely energetic. You really don't need like much in the physical for it. And that's not to say you won't unite in the physical in the future. It's just to say that there are so many ways to connect with your twin that are far greater and more abundant than physical communication. Or, and by physical, I mean like it could be like texting as well. Anything that's happening in the 3D physical. So, if this is happening to you and the communication is hot and cold, then you, first of all, of course, do your healing work, but then maybe focus on a different area of the connection, like a different place to connect that is not communicative. I've also noticed that physical communication is one of the last pieces to fall in place for a twin soul union in so many circumstances. And this can be true even if you are in contact with your twin. It's almost like you can be in contact with them, but the contact is chaotic. And that is a lot of what the hot and cold energy is. And it's just that the two of you are triggering each other a lot. So it's actually not very compassionate to be in communication with each other, because it's just like trigger after trigger, especially in those beginning stages. So, I would say that, I would just say that like be patient, because the clear communication is going to come when you do your inner healing work. And as you do your inner healing work, the communication will become more abundant and it will also become clearer. There won't be that chaotic energy to it that you may be experiencing now. So then the last thing I wanted to say about this is that your twin soul is attracted to you when you are at peace. So, when you're at peace, then because you guys are twin souls, they move into a place of peace as well. And then that really opens up the ability to communicate with each other. If you're not at peace, then they're not at peace, and that is going to create a lot of conflict in your communication. And conflict can definitely be like blocking each other. It can definitely be ignoring each other. Leaving people on red or hitting ignore on whatever the communication method is, leaving them on unread as well. So like ignoring, it can be all sorts of things that cause the conflict. And in order to shift into true communication, it comes down to doing your inner work and finding peace with whatever that person shows you. The other thing is that with communication, I noticed that a lot of it is there's a lot of control that is happening. There's a lot of expectations. And so these are the things that you are meant to surrender and heal. That you're not controlling the communication, that you're really staying present with it and letting it flow, and that you are, surrendering to the flow of it, that you are not expecting certain things to come back. The thing I've really noticed is that your twin soul is pretty much always going to surprise you. Like they're not going to be that predictable. And you can think that they are going to say this, and then they are not going to say that. They will find a completely different way. Like you could think of like 5 things that they might respond with to whatever you said, and they will come up with like a six one to respond with that is completely different than the 5 you came up with. And it will be the most triggering thing to you, and that's kind of by design. Like that's what the journey is, especially in those early stages. It's your twin is meant to trigger you, and when you are fairly new to the healing work, you've been doing it for like a year or maybe less. You do have a lot more wounding, and as you do the healing work, and this timeline, it can be any timeline. I'm not saying you have to work at this for a year to get into union, but you can do the healing work, and it's like it'll become more peaceful for you, and then the communication then becomes more peaceful, and you don't have this hot and cold dynamic between you and your masculine. So I hope this was helpful to you. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and have a beautiful and blessed day.
Wondering about how the masculine and feminine concepts play out on your journey? Make sure you check out my book related to this episode called Masculine versus Feminine: Understanding the Masculine and Feminine Counterparts and How They Come into Union in a Twin Soul Relationship. In the book, I go over whether you are the masculine or the feminine in your union, and the easy ways you can tell and confirm this for yourself once and for all, how the masculine and feminine journey through the chakras once they are awakened to the twin soul journey, how to shift your union's energy from distorted masculine and feminine to divine masculine and feminine, and the 15 plus distorted patterns that the masculine and feminine fall into, and how to deal with them for good, because they really don't feel good while you're in them. You can find the book Masculine versus Feminine at all the major retailers, or find links in the description to learn more. And don't forget to check out the rest of the books in the Twin Soul Hearts in Union series.